Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about Primate and Send Help. But before we get into that, remind you guys to please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on all my socials, Instagram, Twitter, do all that stuff. And with that being said, let's get into the reviews. So the only films I saw in January were actually Send Help and Primate. I saw Primate first and then Send Help a few days ago when I was celebrating my birthday. Kind of saw that one on a whim. Didn't really plan on seeing it, but we went and saw it anyway. And interesting movie. But before we talk about that one, let's talk about Primate. Now, I went and saw Primate kind of on a whim. Long story there, but I went to the theater, saw it, and I saw the previews for it before, like I said, before the new year. They were showing previews of it at the theater. We went and saw Running Man. And we're like, ooh, that could be really good, or it could be really bad. And I was to say when I saw the movie, I was actually really surprised. Saw a lot of good reviews of it from people who are like, you know, kind of reputable in the horror community and stuff like that. And it definitely put a better mood, better thought in my mind that that movie was going to be good. And I went in the theater, and like I said, from the first few minutes of the movie, I was like, ooh, this is gonna be good, and it didn't disappoint. It was, like I said, brutal. It was weirdly funny at times, and is very, I would say, good-hearted. It's like a creature attack film where you have this, you know, domesticated chimpanzee, and it gets rabies, and then it gets sick and takes all of its, you know, the rabies take over, and this thing just becomes brutal. And if you don't know anything about chimpanzees, those things are like ridiculously strong, and they can get they're very capably violent. So this movie is not far off from that concept. This movie is a little ridiculous at times. I believe the chimp that they have is a practical chimp. There may be some CGI somewhere, but I think it's actually maybe a person in a suit. I don't think it's an actual monkey. You could tell it was something that was practical that was there. Yeah, this movie, I think pretty much everybody in the cast does good. I mean, there's a lot of characters that I thought would live longer than they did. But the main star definitely is not just our main lead, but the chimp itself, the character of Ben. Like I said, he's a domesticated animal, so he has ways of talking to his owners. He has a little pad, and he hits buttons out of it. He makes it's like Lucy dead, Lucy dead, and he keeps hitting the button. And this thing, once it gets more feral and aggressive, it's like looking at like it's just going to kill her at any moment, and it's pretty brutal. There was one part of the film where they show early in the movie, they show two guys, they board a plane, and then the girls call them and say they want them to come over, and then they have to call them again, because once Ben starts attacking people, they call him for help. And so these guys come to the house. They walk through the house, is really nice home, and there's a scene where one of the characters, I think, if I remember correctly, gets thrown on a rail, and I thought it was going to go where Ben pushes him over or throws him over the rail, and there's like this big, giant metal fan, and I'm like, oh, he's going to throw him over the fan, he's going to get freaking blended up, and it doesn't happen, so a little disappointed there, but everything else, I thought the movie was pretty brutal, like I said, very fun, and a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. And I think January, February, there's a stigma about movies that come out earlier in the year are usually worse than the ones later on. So hopefully they make more movies like this and Send Help, which we'll talk about in a minute, that are like these brutal, fun of films, and then, you know, it breaks the stigma of January releases being bad. So definitely recommend checking out Primate. If you haven't seen it yet, go out and see it if it's still in your theaters, and definitely worth a watch. Next one we're going to talk about is Send Help. Now, I went and saw this, like I said, on the 31st. Went and saw it with my dad. We were celebrating my birthday. It was like, let's go check out a movie. We had some time to kill. And we were going to check out, I believe we were going to check out Shelter with Jason Statham. But I saw him tell him about this movie. And he was like, I told him the premise. And he's like, oh, that could be interesting. So we watched it. And I honestly think he enjoyed it. I liked it. I thought it was really good. But I think he was enjoying it himself too. There were some parts that were pretty brutal. Like I said early on, you have the main character, Linda, who's like this awkward, geeky coworker, subordinate of Dylan O'Brien's character, who is the son of their boss, who recently passed away, who is his dad, who we saw in a little brief cameo, because I forgot to mention this movie is directed by Sam Raimi. And we see Bruce Campbell is the dad, or was the dad, and which we don't see him in the movie, unfortunately. But he is in the film, and he is kind of like this dickish new guy who doesn't really care about the workers, or like his workers is mainly just like, you know, status. And he knew some guys that he went to school with, and he's kind of giving them a position over this woman who does all the work. And she's kind of got looked over. But when they're going to a meeting in Thailand, I think, when they go to a meeting in Thailand, their plane crashes, and it's just the Linda character and the boss character together, and they have to endure one another. And she's like this survivalist expert. She knows all this stuff about surviving in the woods and everything, and he does not, and so she's thriving while he's like suffering. And the further the film gets, or the longer the film goes, we learn that this girl has like this vengeance for this guy, and intentionally does things to mess with her. And the film does get pretty brutal closer to the end. But I will say the ending was a little weird for me. I'm not going to spoil it here, but I thought the ending, I could see it going in one direction, but I think the direction that they went in was felt like it was in a way deserved of who this guy was. But I feel like it made our character a little more unlikable. Like, we're supposed to like this girl, we're supposed to be like on her side, and I think at the very end of the movie we're like, well, I don't know if I want to cheer for this girl because of what she's doing. And so yeah, like I said, I think it's worth the watch. Definitely one of Sam Raimi's say you want to say his best films, but one of his good films. To me, I think it's better than Drag Me to Hell, but I might be on an island with that one. But recommend checking out both if you haven't. If they're still in their theaters, go check them out. Fun watches, and yeah, hopefully, like I said, we're out of the stigma of bad January horror films, any film really being bad. I guess Silent Hill, and I think Silent Hill, that's the main one people have been really shitting on. So I don't know, I wouldn't say don't watch the movie, because if you want to watch it, go watch it, but might check out Silent Hill, but not gonna go see it in theaters. So thank y'all for watching, and yeah, hopefully see you in the next video.